Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate InvestHER Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andresa.
Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andresa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate InvestHER Show, where our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life. We do that twice a week, right, Andresa? And we have lots to give to you, to serve you, and to just keep you on this journey with us, because we're on this journey with you.
100%, twice a week, 24/7. On the other days. But I'm very excited about today's episode. I really am, because I think a lot of people think about out-of-state investing as something that is like far, far away and not able to achieve. And I'm sure you're going to break that down into little pieces.
Yes.
Liz here, and make it digestible for all of you.
Okay, Andresa. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit is our first larger multifamily for us. And it was an hour and a half from our home. And at that point, it was 2016. At that point, we had a rule that we did not invest outside of 30 minutes.
And you were in New Jersey, right?
We were in New Jersey, yeah. Jersey girl, for everyone listening. Gotta love the Jersey people out there. But anyway, we
love your drivers.
Yeah, we're amazing drivers. For the record, Andresa doesn't let me drive anywhere. So,
nope.
You know, just for that point alone.
Almost die in New York City. Can I say what happened very quickly? You guys going to love this.
Sure, go for it.
Listen, I don't know what we were doing in New York City. At that time, I did not have knowledge of Liz's driving skills as I have now. But then we were driving, right? And Liz and I, when we get together, we started brainstorming, and she was driving. I was like, she knows where she's going. She did not know where she was going. And then all of a sudden, we were like behind a car for a couple of minutes, right? And Liz was like, why is this car not moving? And then I was like, Liz, this car is parked. I don't know if you remember that, Liz.
I totally don't remember that, but that's totally something I would do. So
the car was parked. So anyway, we are prohibited to talk while some of us are driving, and we are prohibited to talk while we are getting into airports, and that's for another episode.
Yes, we'll record that. Another episode for
we
another
derail.
day.
Let's go back.
Totally derail. That's usually what I do. I do that well. So back to our first deals, our first larger multi out of state. So again, we had this rule within 30 minutes of our home, and everything that we were investing in was in that 30 minutes radius. Was in that radius. The reason why we did that is we were self-managing everything. At that point, we had about 100 units. We had a leasing agent. We had a tenant relations manager. We had a bookkeeper. Andresa remembers well. We had a.
I remember
listening,
her.
You're awesome. You're
Love
awesome.
you, E.
You were our first bookkeeper. You're amazing, and we had a maintenance tech, and so everything we did was around that team. We really built a company around that. And so what was happening was that we got presented with we had an 18 unit, was in Northeast Philly, but it was again within our 30-minute radius. And the same broker who sold us that presented a deal, a 49 unit in Lancaster. So that was about an hour and a half away from our home. And you would have thought, and I might have said this before, but you thought it was like across the country. It was so overwhelming, like, wow, this is so far. But we said, let's take a look. So we did take a look at the numbers. We made an offer. The owner it was a really cool building, neat building, loft style, converted factory, very, very cool building. Anyway, it was the offer was 3.9. We offered 3.2, and the owner laughed at us and said, "Go pound sand." And 6 months later, ended up coming back. First buyer fell out. His mortgage was actually ballooning, which we was going to basically sell or lose the property at that point for him. And so we ended up settling at 3.3 million, which it appraised at 3.9. So even to date, and it appraised much higher now. So yeah, it was a great opportunity, a great deal. But why I wanted to break this down for all of you was there were certain pieces of this puzzle that really worked as we made this transition. So let's talk about the first piece, was that we were self-managing. And then Matt was my husband. I remember this conversation, just the many things I've I was right on. But anyway, he's like, let's build a leasing and a whole property management team out there to manage this property. And we had to really look at our long-term goals. And this is the first lesson. We had to really look at our long-term goals and what was working and what wasn't working. Yes, we built a team to self-manage, but in our kind of like core and in where we wanted to go was that we knew we didn't want to just build a portfolio that we were self-managing. We knew we wanted to go many other places. And that's a business. That's an operational business that has to be run very tight, and thinking about our own strengths and what we brought to the table, we knew that we wanted to really partner with third-party management companies. Now that has its own problems and challenges. I won't say that's all roses and sunshine. However, we knew that was a better pivot for us. So we had to make almost like a tough decision, but a pivot decision. And when you're going out of state, you can manage that. You can self-manage or you can hire. We decided to do that. The other lesson I wanted to share was that part of the team being very important was the third-party manager, first off, that we ended up hiring was a passive investor in our deal, which was really neat because then they had some skin in the game. The second piece of the puzzle was we brought in an owners on the owner's side, right? We all know GPLP because we did syndicate this property. We had my husband's cousin ended up being a real estate investor, and we kind of connected and said, do you want to be part owner of this 49 unit? He lived 10 minutes from the property. And he said, absolutely. He knew the market. He knew, he owned a number of multis already in the Lancaster area. So it kind of couldn't have worked better in that way, right? But to have that local, people always say, just have that local team. But if you can actually have somebody on the owner side local, again, owners are going to look at something different than a property manager. It is what it is. He looks at that property differently, and so do we, than someone who's managing it getting, a percent. So it's a big lesson when you're transitioning. The other lesson I wanted to mention to you is that, again, beyond the idea, I mentioned actually the team. I mentioned when is it right to pivot and when is it right to grow? And again, going all in on where you want to be, like kind of like that future self. We knew our future selves didn't want to be managing. So that's the other lesson I want to make sure you're clear on. The third one is knowing your numbers and being willing to walk away if they don't work for you. So again, we saw this property, we ran the numbers. We invested in a lot of tough, dilapidated properties over the years. So we got presented this deal, like a converted factory. It was in a really hip area, probably one of the best markets we would have invested in to date at that point. For those who aren't emotionally connected to deals, we were really excited about this. We were just like, oh my God, this is like a dream for us, right? Comparatively.
The brick, he has bricks.
Yeah, it was just
bricks.
like, it had this like whole brand. We could see this whole brand with it too, which we didn't always see with some of other properties. And so we were just excited. We were like, this is the future of our portfolio. We were just like, for real estate investors that shouldn't get excited and passionate about properties, we were really, really interested in this one. And so when they said no first, we could have raised our offer and said, well, we knew, but our numbers didn't work any higher. At least from the 3.2 to 3.3-ish. We didn't see how our numbers can work. And so we had to walk away, and that was hard. And I want to just recommend to you, walk away when the deal doesn't make sense. You are in the driver's seat. Don't forget that ever. You don't have the property. Because if it's the right deal at the right time for you, it will come back. And it'll be a learned lesson. So it's hard, but we walked away. And then 6 months later, the broker calls us again. Hey, that property in Lancaster? Yeah, he's a little more motivated.
You should have said, no, I don't remember which one.
And which one?
I
right?
totally know which one it is.
And we jumped on it, but we didn't, go up that much high. I think we settled at 3.3. Mm-hmm. And it was a big deal because again, the owner was really in a tough spot. He needed to sell. Again, huge opportunity for us. And just really quick, interesting tip, the bank had us sign something that said we weren't related to the owner because we were buying it so much less than what it appraised for. Yeah, interesting, right? We've never had to do that ever, but we had actually signed something because they thought it was like this backhand deal of within the family, and they didn't. So very interesting, by the way.
Nice.
So those are my three lessons. The team goes deeper than just quote unquote local team. Find an owner who can represent you and who's part of your core team, your core ownership. Number two, when you get presented with deals out of state, you look at your long-term goals. Is this going to help me move towards my long-term goals basis what I'm good at, where I want to be? what works for me, what's not working for me, and everything in between. And then thirdly, know your numbers and be willing to walk away and don't look back until they call you again.
Yeah, just look back when they call you again. Nice. Oh, that could be a hashtag. Don't look back, only when they call you back.
Yeah, until they call you back and go, oh, yes, I am interested in that property again, you know? So again, just to full transparency, the irony of that property, we still own it. We've bought some investors out on that property, and it has so much land that we're actually building a 40 unit building on the land. So we're actually doubling the unit count there. It's in the works and everything, but just one of our favorite properties.
Case study.
It is a great case study. It's it's one of those properties that works. Not every property is always like that, right? But it's one of those properties that the learn lesson early on, then that really tracks to being a solid deal for your portfolio.
Awesome. Ladies, let us know. What do you think? You have questions, post it on our Facebook community. We're here to serve you. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.